Ask what happened to Kurt Sova. It's a question that's been asked since 1981 when the 17-year-old disappeared after a Halloween party, and it is something that we here at 19 News have been looking into a little bit more with our Dark Side of the Land podcast, trying to see some of the angles of it and re-examining the entire case. Going to play a little bit of the of what we've discovered, what we kind of come through here, and then we'll bring in Sarah Goldenberg, 19 investigator, following that. But this is a small piece of our Dark Side of the Land podcast examining what happened to Kurt Sova.
This might just be one of the most chilling and mysterious unsolved cases to ever come out of Cleveland, Ohio. We're talking about the tragic and bizarre death of Kurt Sova, a 17-year-old kid who vanished after going to a party on October 23, 1981, and was found dead just 5 days later. Now, this story first gained national attention when it aired on Unsolved Mysteries way back in 1988, but for me, this case has stuck with me ever since I stumbled across it a few years ago. And let me tell you, it still haunts me. Let's rewind. Kurt was just a normal teenager when he went to a party on Harvard Avenue in Newburgh Heights, Ohio. He never made it home. His parents, worried sick, reported him missing after he failed to show up the next day, and a frantic search began. 5 days later, his body was discovered in a ravine, only 500 yards from where that party took place. Now, here's where things get weird. There were no signs of foul play, no bruises, no trauma, nothing. At first, the Cuyahoga County coroner ruled it as a probable accidental death. But then, they changed it to unknown causes. That's right, they had no idea what actually happened to Kurt. And for decades, nothing. The trail went cold. But now, 38 years later, this case is getting a second chance. Tiffin University has teamed up with law enforcement to reopen the investigation. There was even some buzz about it 2 years ago, but unfortunately, it all led to dead ends and speculation. Still, we're not giving up hope. Kurt deserves answers. His family deserves answers. And maybe, just maybe, with your help, someone out there can come forward with the missing piece of the puzzle. Explosive sound. Update time. There's now a dedicated Facebook page set up to gather any tips or leads that could move this case forward. If you know anything, or if someone you know does, now is the time to speak up. And here's something that truly hit me. At a recent press conference, Kurt's older brother Kevin revealed that after his mother passed away in 2014, he discovered boxes and boxes of notes, letters, and newspaper clippings she had saved over the years, all about Kurt's case. She never stopped fighting for the truth. And now, Kevin's picked up that fight, bringing all of that material to the police. This has been in the works, quietly, since 2014. So now, it's our turn to shine a light. Share this. Talk about it. Let's keep Kurt Sova's name out there, because someone, somewhere, knows the truth. Praise hand sound. Let's get this case solved. Discovery and identification. On the morning of October 28, 1981, in the quiet suburb of Newburgh Heights, Ohio, 3 young boys made a grim discovery. Lying face up in a shallow puddle within a wooded ravine behind a warehouse off Harvard Street was the body of 17-year-old Kurt Eugene Sova. His arms were stretched outward, his legs straight in what many described as a Christ-like position. The body appeared to have been deliberately placed. There were no obvious signs of violence, only a few minor scratches and bruises. One of his tennis shoes was missing entirely, while the other was found nearby, wedged in a pile of rocks approximately 12 feet away. Kurt had been missing for 5 days. According to the official timeline, he had left home on the afternoon of Friday, October 23rd, and was last seen that night. Yet the coroner determined that he had only been dead for 24 to 36 hours before being found. This placed the time of death sometime between Monday evening and Tuesday morning. The discrepancy between his disappearance and the estimated time of death immediately raised questions. The discovery shocked the neighborhood. When authorities arrived, they noted the peculiar and unsettling nature of the scene. The body showed no evidence of a struggle or exposure to the elements consistent with lying in the ravine for multiple days. Later that day, the body was officially identified as Kurt Sova, confirming the fears of his parents, Ken and Dorothy, who had spent the past several days desperately searching for their son. This marked the end of a missing person investigation and the beginning of a deeply troubling mystery. What happened to Kurt during those 5 days? And how did a seemingly healthy teenager die without any clear cause?
Kurt's life and last known movements. Kurt Eugene Sova was a quiet, respectful 17-year-old high school junior living in Newburgh Heights, Ohio, a modest blue-collar suburb of Cleveland. He was the youngest of 4 sons and particularly close to his parents, Ken and Dorothy Sova. According to Dorothy, Kurt never caused problems at school, never clashed with neighbors, and had never been in trouble with the police. He was responsible, predictable, and always told his parents where he was going, especially if he planned on staying out late. On the afternoon of Friday, October 23, 1981, Kurt left home for what would be the last time. Just a block away, he met up with his friend Sam. Sam told Kurt about a Halloween party happening that evening at a nearby duplex on Harvard Street, less than 2 miles from the Sova home. The two boys decided to go together. That night, Kurt never came home. This was immediately concerning to his parents. Dorothy explained that Kurt normally returned home by 10 or 11 p.m. unless they knew his plans. Him staying out overnight without a word was completely out of character. Initially, Susan, the woman who hosted the party, denied that it even happened and claimed she had never seen Kurt. However, after further pressure and the corroboration of a pizza delivery man, she admitted there had been a party and that Kurt had been present. She told Dorothy that Kurt had been drinking heavily, mainly Everclear, an extremely potent liquor. Those who knew Kurt said he wasn't a drinker and had a small build, making him particularly vulnerable to alcohol. As the night progressed, Sam said Kurt became increasingly intoxicated, stumbling and knocking things over. Eventually, he became ill, prompting Susan to ask Sam to take him outside for air. Sam left him momentarily to retrieve his jacket. When he returned, Kurt was gone. Sam searched the area but assumed Kurt had walked home. That was the last time anyone confirmed seeing Kurt alive.
The family's search and police response. By Saturday morning, less than 24 hours after Kurt Sova failed to return home, his parents, Ken and Dorothy, were already alarmed and actively searching for him. Dorothy began calling Kurt's friends, while Ken scoured the neighborhood on foot, searching the places he believed his son might have gone. As hours passed without any sign of Kurt, their concern turned to fear. By Sunday, October 25, they filed an official missing person report with the Cleveland Police Department. Not content to wait on an official response, the Sovas took matters into their own hands. Dorothy and her other sons plastered the area with missing person flyers, canvassing the neighborhood and questioning anyone who might have seen or heard from Kurt. Ken searched physical locations, including ravines and dumpsters, anywhere his son could have ended up, either by accident or through foul play. That same Sunday afternoon, Dorothy tracked down a possible lead. Word from Kurt's friends that he had been at a party on Friday night, held at a duplex on Harvard Street in Newburgh Heights. When she arrived at the duplex, she was told the tenant, Susan, was not home. A woman claiming to be babysitting answered the door and denied knowing anything about a party. Later, Susan herself called Dorothy, initially denying there had been a party or that Kurt had attended. However, after a local pizza delivery man contradicted her statement and confirmed there had been a gathering, Susan reversed her story and admitted that Kurt had been there, describing him as having drunk heavily and become sick. Throughout this period, it became increasingly evident that the local police response lacked urgency and depth. Offers of assistance from Cleveland police were reportedly declined, and key steps such as formally documenting statements from partygoers or conducting a full search of the duplex were not taken. This section of the case underscores not only the family's desperate and proactive efforts to find Kurt, but also the early indications of mishandled investigative opportunities. Autopsy findings and timeline discrepancies. Following the discovery of Kurt Sova's body on October 28, 1981, an autopsy was conducted at the Cuyahoga County Coroner's Office. The medical findings only deepened the mystery. The coroner determined that Kurt had been dead for 24 to 36 hours prior to being found. This meant he had remained alive for at least 3 days after leaving the party on Friday night, creating a significant gap in the timeline of his disappearance. Where he was during those days remains unknown. Crucially, the coroner found no signs of trauma or violence on Kurt's body. He had some minor scratches and bruises, but no injuries severe enough to suggest assault or an accident. His blood alcohol level measured 0.11, above the legal limit but not high enough to be fatal. No drugs were detected in his system, and he had no known medical conditions that could have caused sudden death. Unable to pinpoint a specific cause of death, the coroner ruled it as a probable accidental death by exclusion, meaning all other possibilities had been eliminated. This diagnosis raised more questions than it answered. Kurt's left shoe was found in a pile of rocks about 12 feet from his body, while his right shoe was never located. The placement of the body, face up in a puddle, in a Christ-like pose, appeared deliberate, not accidental. Perhaps most telling, Kurt's father, Ken, had searched the exact Ravine area just a day before the body was discovered and found nothing. There were no signs that Kurt had been there for long. This strongly supports the theory that his body was placed in the ravine shortly before it was found. These medical and physical inconsistencies, no definitive cause of death, the timing of body placement, and missing personal items challenged the initial accidental death ruling and reinforced the family's belief that foul play was involved.
Strange sightings and unanswered leads. In the days between Kurt Sova's disappearance and the discovery of his body, a series of strange events and reported sightings emerged. Details that deepened the mystery and hinted at possible missed opportunities to intervene. These accounts, though unverified, were shared by individuals who later realized the significance of what they had seen or heard. On Monday, October 26, 3 days after Kurt was last seen at the party, his friend David Trusnick claimed to have seen Kurt walking with an unidentified boy along a busy road near their neighborhood. David stopped to offer a ride, but before he could say much, a van pulled up. Kurt reportedly shouted, "Franco!" and ran to the van with the other boy. At the time, David had no idea Kurt was missing. It was only after his death that the sighting took on haunting significance. David later expressed regret, wondering what he might have done had he known the urgency of the situation. That same day, another chilling moment unfolded. A man who had been seen loitering around the Sova's neighborhood entered a local record store. Upon seeing Kurt's missing poster, he told the store manager, "You might as well take that down. They're going to find him dead in 2 days." The man left without explanation. The next morning, before the store opened, he returned, this time leaving behind flowers and a disturbing note that read, "Roses are red, the sky is blue. They found him dead, and they'll find you too." Alarmed, the store manager contacted the police. The man was located and questioned, but authorities dismissed him as mentally unstable and released him without further investigation. He vanished shortly afterward. Even more unsettling was a phone call Dorothy Sova received at approximately 3:30 a.m. on the very day Kurt's body was discovered. Susan, the woman who hosted the party Kurt attended, called to say someone might be sleeping in her basement. Ken Sova immediately went to the duplex and searched the basement. He found a cot that appeared recently used, but no person. Dorothy believed then and continued to believe that Kurt had been in that basement and that his body was moved soon after he died. These sightings and interactions, though inconclusive, provide a portrait of a case filled with eerie coincidences, potential witnesses, and leads that were never fully pursued. They suggest that Kurt may have been alive and unaccounted for in the days leading up to the discovery of his body, and that others may know more than they've revealed. Failures of the investigation. As the mystery of Kurt Sova's death deepened,
so too did scrutiny of the Newburgh Heights Police Department's handling of the case. From the earliest days of the investigation, critical steps were overlooked or ignored, severely compromising the potential for answers and eroding public trust in the authorities responsible. No photographs were taken of Kurt's body at the scene, a basic procedure in death investigations. Police failed to search the duplex where he was last seen, despite clear connections between the location and his disappearance. They never obtained written statements from the partygoers, a missed opportunity that could have established a clearer timeline and identified who was present when Kurt began to fall ill and ultimately disappeared. Instead of coordinating with larger or more experienced departments, Newburgh Heights Police declined an offer of assistance from the Cleveland Police Department. This decision further limited the resources and reach of the investigation. Community members who came forward with information were often dismissed, and leads were not always pursued. Kurt's mother, Dorothy, who persistently gathered information and reported suspicious behavior, was reportedly brushed aside by law enforcement. According to her, Lieutenant Robert Karras, who led the investigation, portrayed her as an overwrought mother unwilling to accept the accidental death of her son, a characterization that likely discouraged deeper inquiry into the evidence and tips she provided. These investigative failings took on even a darker tone in the years that followed. Lieutenant Karras was eventually convicted of serious misconduct, including assaulting handcuffed detainees and drug-related offenses. Alarming allegations also emerged that he had taken individuals to the same warehouse area near where Kurt's body was later found. Though no direct connection to Kurt's case was established, the allegations cast a long shadow over the integrity of the original investigation. For Kurt's family, these failures reinforced the necessity of turning to outside sources for help. They reached out to media programs like Unsolved Mysteries in a final bid to revive interest and compel someone to come forward. This section of Kurt's story underscores the consequences when basic investigative steps are ignored, and how trust can be permanently damaged when justice is not only denied, but actively mishandled.
Reopening the case and legacy. More than 4 decades after Kurt Sova's tragic death, the case remains officially unsolved, but it has not been forgotten. In 2019, the Newburgh Heights Police Department reopened the investigation, acknowledging the significant missteps made during the original inquiry. In a rare move, they partnered with Tiffin University's criminal justice program, where a professor and a team of students analyzed the case with fresh eyes. The goal was to reevaluate the known evidence using modern investigative techniques and build new momentum in a long-stalled case. In early 2020, Kurt's story was again thrust into the public spotlight when it became the focus of the CrimeCon Crowd Solve event in Chicago. Over 100 citizen detectives, law enforcement professionals, and forensic experts gathered to examine the case. Despite widespread public engagement and detailed case review, no new leads materialized, and the investigation once again went quiet. Officially, Kurt's case is classified as dormant, not closed, but with no active pursuit of suspects or evidence underway. Even as the case has faded from the headlines, its emotional and historical weight continues to resonate. Kurt's parents, Ken and Dorothy, never gave up seeking the truth. They remained outspoken and persistent until their deaths in 2001 and 2014, respectively. Today, their surviving son Kevin carries that torch, still searching for answers about what happened to his younger brother in October 1981. The story of Kurt Sova has been preserved in various forms, through national television coverage on Unsolved Mysteries, podcasts like The Trail Went Cold, and ongoing local news investigations. Public interest has helped keep the case alive, fueled in part by haunting parallels to the death of Eugene Quet, another boy found in a nearby ravine.
So I found these shapewear shorts on TikTok and they've been a game changer for me. Not only do they look super cute, but they also gave me an hourglass figure while wearing a dress, and you can even wear them to the gym since they are squat proof. So what are you waiting for? Get yours now and thank me later.
Where was he during the missing days? And who may still be holding on to the truth? Anyone who lived in the area at the time or who may remember something from the party or those days in October might hold a piece of the puzzle. After all these years, even a small memory could finally lead to the answers the Sova family has sought for so long.